2025 NFL team previews. Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs off their third straight Super Bowl appearance 6 months ago, exactly to the day. KC lost 22-40 to the Eagles. That was only the fourth double-digit loss in Mahomes' career. If this is your first team preview of mine you're watching, I've done every team A through K so far, half the league, so be sure to check the other team previews out. In the team preview before this, I talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they were the most unlucky team in the league last year. Well, KC was the luckiest team in the league last year. They won 15 games, but only covered the spread in 7, which isn't crazy when you're the defending Super Bowl champs. Your point spreads will be inflated, but KC won every close game. But I will preface this by saying it's not also crazy. The best head coach and QB combo in today's game found ways to win close games. They've been doing this. They're 47-20 in the Mahomes era in one-score games. But this past season was even an outlier for them. They played much closer to like an 11 or maybe a 12-win team. And how we know this is based on a metric I use called the blended fourth quarter win probability, which says they won 4 games over expected. That's tied for the 5th highest overachieving season since the year 2000. For anyone who doesn't know what the blended fourth quarter win probability is, I explained it more in depth in the Jacksonville team preview, but in summary, it's what we would expect a team's winning percentage to be if we just credited the team for their performance in the majority of the game, excluding the unpredictability of the fourth quarter. The blended version excludes only the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. KC won 4 games on the last play of the game. They somehow survived 3 games where their opponents had the ball with under a minute remaining and a chance to win or tie. And a perfect example of this was a game they survived at home versus the Raiders on Black Friday. Raiders kicker Daniel Carlson has been one of the league's best kickers over the last few seasons, 7 for 11 on 50-plus yard attempts. 3 of those 4 misses came in that one game versus KC on Black Friday. 2 second-half misses and 1 miss with 2 minutes left in the game. KC went and won by 2 points in that game. Chiefs were obviously a very good team, and I'm not trying to say they weren't, but just based on their numbers alone, they outperformed at the highest rate. The offense finished 15th in points scored and had a plus 59 point differential, which was the worst in the Mahomes era. Regardless of how they do it, KC has now won 11 games or more in every season with Mahomes as a starter. As a team, they're 5-2 to the over on their season win total. Only 2 times they went under their win total, and it was both by a half point. Head coach Andy Reid is 10-2 to the over on his win totals as a head coach the last 12 seasons. I don't care what regression may come from overachieving last season. This is not a team I'm betting against in any way. In my opinion, KC goes back to the Super Bowl again, or at the very least, the AFC Championship game versus Buffalo. I'm expecting an MVP-type season from Mahomes, but as it's priced, it's just not worth betting for me right now. I have KC with a tougher than average schedule. I have their average opponent rating a half point above a league average team, but I think their opponents will play better than their projected. In other words, when we look back at their schedule at year's end, I think it'll play tougher than it looks at this point now in August. The Chiefs are scheduled for at least 8 primetime or standalone games. Could end up being 9 with flex scheduling. 5 primetime games in just the first 8 weeks alone. One of their road games is technically in Brazil versus the Chargers, so they only play 7 real road games where they are at their opponent's home venue. Since 2014, teams with 6+ standalone games failed to meet their win total by just over an average of a half a win. Primetime standalone games, especially ones on the road, aren't an ideal scheduling spots because it's an interruption to their normal week of prep. It throws off the rest days, and these players are creatures of habit, so any change is often like a negative. But that's the price you pay for being a winning, popular franchise, I guess. Also, when you have a team with a franchise quarterback under a big extension, you won't be busy in the offseason. They only really added 2 free agents, left tackle Jalen Moore and then cornerback Christian Fulton, who both should be starters. Left tackle Jalen Moore filled in for the injured Trent Williams in San Francisco. He's only allowed 5 sacks and almost 500 career pass blocking snaps. He's a top 30 tackle in the league, according to Pro Football Focus's grading. This will help, but it won't completely solve the loss of one of the best, most reliable offensive linemen in Joe Thuney to the Bears. Thuney's an Iron Man. He only missed 2 games in his 9-year career. You don't see that out of these players these days. Not sure what KC will do long-term to replace him. It probably starts off looking like they're going to rely on second-year guy Kingsley Sumate. He's only played 31 snaps at guard last year, all of which was in the Week 18 game versus Denver, where he graded out terribly. So how long it will take for this offensive line to settle in is a big question I have, which, as you know by now, if you've watched these previews, O-line and defense are what I weigh the most when evaluating teams. The defense is much less of a concern. Spagnuolo has this group really clicking, but there is depth issues They can't withstand like any injuries on either one of these units, O line or defense. The defense carried this team last year, but they shouldn't have to do it to the same extreme this year. KC basically now has their best wide receiver group since the days of Tyreek Hill. They re-signed Hollywood Brown. They will get Rashi Rice back. After his season-ending knee injury in Week 2 last year, those two with Xavier Worthy make up a solid core. It's definitely an upgrade from what Mahomes has had to deal with the last few seasons. Interesting to see the production of Kelsey. Was last year's big step down foreshadowing, or was that kind of just like a fluke in a down year? I think KC is a Super Bowl contender, which isn't me going out on a limb or anything, but sometimes I'm always looking for the perfect price or value in like big plus money futures. Sometimes things are just what they seem to be, and the obvious option is the best option. Like the content creator in me would say KC wins the Super Bowl this year just so I can clip it and repost it, but I'm a sports better first, and I need a little bit more value for like a season long future bet where, anything can happen over the span of a 6 month period. So for now, it's nothing here. Next up, we got a lot of teams bunched up with the LM and N's. Goal is to have these team previews banged out within the next 2 weeks, so need to step up my pace a little bit here. Raiders up next, so be on the lookout for that one. Until then, good luck with your bet.